Hello and welcome to my channel In Search of Wonder. My name is Anne and today I have some BookTube recommendations for you. So, in my Reading the Classics reading challenge this year, each month I have a particular challenge that is bookish related. It's not a reading prompt per se, and it's just something fun to engage in the reading community or to kickstart something in your own reading life or just something fun to do. In February, the challenge is to read like a booktuber. So today, I thought it would be fun to give you some suggestions of BookTube channels that are similar to mine in some way or another. Maybe the hosts of these channels read books similar to mine. Maybe they have a similar video style to mine, or I don't know. There are many different reasons why I've chosen the booktubers on this list, but I have a pretty big list front and back of this piece of paper. So let's get started, and I hope that you can find some new channels to follow here and some new readers to engage with and build community with that you will enjoy. To begin with, Bethany Brings Books. She has a lot of classics and Christian fiction and clean fiction that she enjoys reading, as well as Christian nonfiction. And she and I like the same things in books, and we have a very similar perspective in our reading as well. We buddy read Mansfield Park last year, and in February we're going to be buddy reading Of Love and Treason by Jamie Ogle. Two very different books, but both books that we are interested in reading. Both of us really loved Mansfield Park when we were reading it together. It was her first time reading it, and it was my second time reading it. The first time I read it, I didn't really love it, but reading it together, we just both enjoyed it so much, and we noticed a lot of similar things about it. She and I have some similarities in our reading tastes. She also enjoys watching the period dramas that go with the books, etc. So check out Bethany Brings Books if you have not already, and I think that you will really enjoy her channel. I also really love her testimony and how she is willing to share how God has worked in her life and the things that he has done in her life. I will leave her to tell the story because it is her story to tell, but I definitely suggest that you check out her channel, follow her on Instagram, and just be blessed by her testimony. A recent discovery for me, and I think a newer channel, well, I guess it's been around probably about as long as mine, maybe, I don't know, but I just recently discovered Humbly Haley. She is a homeschooling mom, a young homeschooling mom, and she is out, as she says, to redeem her literary education. And I kind of resonate with that because I was homeschooled, and not that my education lacked. Actually, my mom was pretty good because she had a teaching background and everything, and so she did very well. But our literature curriculum was actually, in my opinion, lacking, especially now, maybe not in comparison to a lot of people's, but definitely in comparison to the literary education my children are getting, which I wish I had gotten at that age. So I am similarly desirous of improving my own literary education. So I have a similar goal as an adult to make up what I feel was lacking and maybe in the early years of my adulthood to a certain extent. So I really enjoy the books that she reads. Last year, she had a female and male author of the year, Jane Austen and C.S. Lewis. And so she read a lot of their books. This year, Tolkien and Lucy Maud Montgomery are her male and female author of the year, so she's focusing on their books. I have not read a lot of Tolkien, but I have definitely read a lot of Lucy Maud Montgomery. When I was a teenager, and a preteen, I read every book I could find that was Lucy Maud Montgomery's. So I definitely love her, and I am on a quest to read and reread all of her books as well. So we read a lot of similar things, and we also have a lot of similar perspective. When she read the Jane Austen books last year, she would create a video discussing her thoughts and everything on it. And she has some fantastic insight. And that's really appropriate this year for our Jane Austen birthday celebration. If you want to go and check out her videos from last year about the Austen books that she read, I guarantee that you will enjoy her discussions and conversations on the books. Shatona Havig is another one. Shatona Havig is an author, and she also is a voracious reader. She has a podcast as well, which is fun, where she interviews different authors. She reads a lot of classics, Christian fiction, and clean secular fiction. And again, she and I have a similar approach in our reading, in our perspective on the books, and the things that we appreciate in books and the things that we dislike in books. We often agree on books as to whether they are good books or not, or we enjoyed them or not, etc. Also, another similarity between me and Shatona is that our videos tend to be longer, on the longer side. Yeah. So we just have a lot to say, okay? And then another fairly recent discovery for me is Lexi Between the Lines. And I just love Lexi's approach to her reading as well. And I love her videos. She has a very finished, beautiful style to her videos, and I enjoy watching them. But also I enjoy her thoughts on the books that she read. In particular, her year review of her 2024 year in reading and her favorite books. The way that she classified and grouped them and talked about them would just really resonate with me. It was perfect for me, and I really enjoyed that. I think her final category was books that reminded her of the goodness of God, and I really appreciated that, and her thoughts that she had about the books. Also, she read Set the Stars Alight by Amanda Dykes last year and really enjoyed it, and enjoyed Amanda Dykes' writing. And anyone, that's kind of like a test for me, like, do you like Amanda Dykes' writing or not? Then I know, like, or simpatico or not. So she really enjoyed Set the Stars Alight by Amanda Dykes. And she does read some things that I don't read a lot of, like fantasy and mystery. So that's good because it helps me expand my horizons a little bit. But also, if you like those books and you also like what I read, then you will probably really love her channel. And then my granny era, which is Sarah. She also loves to read a lot of classics as well as many other things. She has very eclectic reading taste. And she's not afraid to tackle books that I might look at and think, well, that's very, esoteric or outside my comfort zone or whatever. She'll read it. For example, one recent book that she discussed at length that sounded very intriguing to me, but was not something I ever would pick up and say, oh, this looks like an interesting book I should read. But after listening to her talk about it, now I think I should. It was a book by Robert Louis Stevenson about the plagues in medieval times. And it just sounded so intriguing what she was talking about, and I think I might actually enjoy reading that book. But I never would have picked it up if I hadn't heard her mention it. So I get some unique recommendations from her. But also, I love how she thinks very deeply about the books and the themes, and she relates it to her life, and she tells stories from her life and things that she has learned and makes those connections. And I really just enjoy listening to her talk about that. And that's kind of the bookish conversation that I just love and I thrive on. And I really enjoy hearing her talk about that. Madeline at Cozy Cottage Chapters is another one that I really enjoy reading. She reads a lot of classics and a lot of clean romance, and she just has a fun way of talking about them and discussing the books that she has read. That's just really engaging and interesting, and it's just fun to chat books with her. Another one that reads very similar to me is Miriam Elizabeth Reads. She and I like a lot of the same things and a lot of the same authors. For example, Amanda Dykes and Georgette Heyer, we have in common as favorite authors, and we have enjoyed reading all of their books to one extent or another. We also love reading a lot of classics and clean fiction and some Christian fiction. I will say that we disagree a little bit on Dickens and Charlotte Mary Young. She has a love-hate relationship with Dickens, and I just love Dickens. I kind of don't care what the story is about. I just love his writing style and his prose, but she's not quite as fully on board with Dickens, which is fine, I still love her. And then Charlotte Mary Young, she really loves a lot more than I do. She and I buddy read The Heir of Redcliffe last year together, and while there were things about it that I could appreciate and value and admire, it was not a favorite read of mine by any means. And I'm not sure that I'm going to pick up any more Charlotte Mary Young, but I think that she has already read one or two more by her since then. Kelly Reads a Lot is another channel that I really love, and she and I have a similar worldview and a similar perspective on the books that we read. She is a homeschooling mom, and so she also includes a lot of middle grade and young adult that she reads and children's literature with her children. And so that fleshes that out if you are interested in that genre that I don't read a lot of, but she has great recommendations in that realm. And she and I have a lot of similar favorite authors, especially classic authors like Elizabeth Gaskell and Charles Dickens. And we also read a lot of historical fiction and Christian fiction as well. So Kelly is another channel to try out. Morgan's Endless Bookshelf is another channel that I really love, and she reads a lot. Morgan reads so many books. She also reads a lot more like fantasy than I do, but we do have a lot of similarity as well in classics and Christian fiction that we enjoy, authors that we enjoy, things that we enjoy in stories, things that we don't enjoy. We have a lot of similarities and a lot of crossover, and she has a lot of great insights in her books that she reads in the literature, etc. And she's able to look at things from a literary perspective as well, which I really appreciate. And someone had commented on one of my videos recently that they really appreciate YouTubers who have a strong Christian worldview and read their literature accordingly. So Morgan is one of those, and I really enjoy her thoughts. Cheryl, A Candlewick Library is another one that I can highly recommend with a strong Christian worldview and perspective and insight into literature. She enjoys great classics. She's also a fan of Lucy Maud Montgomery and has read, I believe, all of her books or most of them. She also does read more fantasy and other things that I don't read. So if you like those books, and I don't talk about them a lot, sorry, you will find more of that on her channel. She and I have, again, a similar worldview and perspective, and she has great insight into books as well. I really enjoy hearing her thoughts on them. One big difference between me and Cheryl is that her videos, they're much shorter and much more succinct. She knows how to get to the point right away and say a lot without saying a lot. So I always admire that about her. And then Mitzi reads and writes. She reads a lot of classics. She also reads a lot of vintage reads, which is something that I want to explore more and more of. I have not read as many vintage books as an adult as I did when I was younger. My sister had a lot of vintage books like Cherry Ames and Trixie Belden and those kind of books, and some other authors. And I read a lot of those when I was a young teen, but I have not in recent years. So there are so many fantastic vintage authors. And when I say that, I mean like early to mid 20th century authors. So I really enjoy those.
Hello, Editing Ann here to say, as you may have heard, my son was beginning his trumpet lesson, which he has virtual lessons at home currently. And so, yeah, I tried to work around it for the remainder of this video, but you might hear snippets. It may be on the other side of the house in the room with a shut door, but you can't stop that trumpet sound.
Catherine at Regional Love is another one. She reads a lot more nonfiction than I do. So if you love nonfiction, she is a good channel to check out. And she reads a lot of Christian fiction as well. And she likes cozy mysteries and some other books. And she also loves comic books, vintage comic books. So if you like those, then you will enjoy reading hers. A newer channel is Essie at the Novel Honey Shelf. And she is eclectic and widely read. She reads a wide variety of things, including classics and historical fiction. And I just enjoy listening to her talk about the books that she reads. And she has a fun video style that I enjoy watching as well. So check out her channel. Another newer channel is Whitney, at Whitney's Reading Journey. And she reads a lot of Christian fiction. She also reads some classics. She's very choosy and selective about the content in her books. So if you are also choosy and selective about the content that you find in your books, then you will appreciate her perspective and how she reads through them and her clear-sightedness when it comes to identifying that content. Hopefully Books is another channel, and I have really enjoyed watching her videos. She has a very thoughtful approach to reading. And I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, she comes from a classically educated perspective, which I really appreciate because I am a classical educator and my children are being classically educated. So I really appreciate that perspective to literature and that willingness to read deeply. And this year she is on a mission to read deeply and slowly and to really immerse herself in reading the books and focusing on them and getting a lot out of them. And she really has an appreciation for truth and goodness and beauty in the books that she reads. And I love that so much. Finally, I want to mention Jess at Pages and Grace, who is just the sweetest person, but also she and I have very similar reading tastes. She reads a lot of Christian fiction. A lot of her favorites from 2024 were books that I also either love a lot or want to read myself. And she also will read some classics, and just a lot of what she reads is historical fiction and things are books that I also love and really want to read. And I just love how she shares about her books and her heart for her children that she has fostered and adopted, and I just really enjoy her channel. So I will link all of these BookTube channels in the description box below. I hope you will hop on over and check them out and subscribe to them and let them know that I sent you, and enjoy. If you have any other similar channels that you want to mention.
Hello again from editing, and apparently I didn't finish that sentence. I stopped recording and never went back and finished it, strangely, but I am not about to go and re-record the whole thing, so sorry about this little patchy bad job of a video. But to finish the sentence that I thought I finished, but I clearly didn't, if you have another channel that you think people would be interested in, if they like the content on my channel, a channel that you have also enjoyed, or your own, it's okay. If you want to advertise your own channel, perfectly fine. Mention in the comments below so that people can go and find the channel and find some more to subscribe to and some more bookish conversations to enjoy. And now, I will see you next time. Bye.